Thanks for tuning in. I'm Craig Lieberman, and I've been tinkering on cars since 1980. I've owned more than 40 cars in my life. Some were heroes, some were zeros. But never in my wildest dreams would I ever guess that 3 of my cars would go on to star in a motion picture franchise. My Supra, my GTR, and my Maxima all had starring roles in Universal's Fast and Furious movies. Over the next 3 years, I'd served Universal as a technical advisor. I helped choose the cars, procure the parts, oversee their builds, and support both production and post-production. I've got some great stories to tell, and that's why I created this channel. I hope you like the video. Through the first 8 movies of the Fast and Furious franchise, we've seen close to 1,500 cars on screen. In Fast 8 alone, in fact, Universal built around 300 cars for various scenes. Many of these cars were purpose-built stunt cars that were meant to be destroyed from the outset, but there was still an impressive list of supercars if you look through the roster of all the movies. The questions I get about these cars run the gamut, from queries about a car's particular modifications to questions regarding a car's whereabouts some 20 years later on. But the question I like the least is as vague as it is remedial. How fast does it go? Or sometimes it's more low-key remedial and it goes something like this. Hey bro, so I'm in this argument with my buddy and I need to know which car is faster in real life, the Supra or the Charger? Like real life or like in the movie for real? What are we talking about? The old top speed question, which seems to be a relic from the 1970s when cars were judged by such a useless stat, when today cars are judged by much more meaningful data. And when I get these questions, I always shoot back the same response. Do you mean quicker or faster? And frankly, I think a lot of people don't understand the difference. Either way, the question when applied to movie cars is simply going to be answered with very unimpressive results because I think a lot of people believe what they're seeing on screen. Dom's Charger for the first movie, for example, was shown to have a big block Chrysler Hemi making something like 900 horsepower, and that, of course, was a total lie. The engine you saw in Dom's garage was rented out for that one scene for that one day. That car never actually ran with that engine in it, ever. In actuality, Dom's Charger on set had an unmodified stock Dodge motor, and frankly, it would have struggled to run a 14-second quarter mile. And the same holds true for many of the cars that were used throughout the Fast and Furious movies. It's no surprise then that many people seem to think that these cars can all run a 9-second quarter mile, do wheelies from every stoplight, and go 250 miles per hour. Because that's the way they make it look on camera. Of course, nothing could be further from the truth. Look, I get it. I was young once too. In fact, by the age of 12, my stack of car magazines was bigger than my stack of Playboy magazines. Back then, though, magazines like Motor Trend and Road and Track had a reference chart in the last few pages of every issue that showed the performance stat of every car. And it was fascinating. I would memorize those as a kid, and I think a lot of other people did too, so we could quote those off to friends and seem like we really knew something about the cars. But really, I only looked at 3 columns: the top speed, the 0 to 60 times, and the quarter mile time. Occasionally I'd look at the lateral G's and slalom speed, but as a teenager, those stats weren't as fun to think about. Who cares about how fast you're going to go through cones? Today, car manufacturers will live or die by 3 simple stats: Nürburgring lap times, 0 to 60 times, and quarter mile times. Top speed, however, is rarely if ever mentioned. And does that anyone even buy a car based solely on its top speed anymore? Nevertheless, for those who think this data is relevant or at least interesting enough to talk about, I decided to make this video. And frankly, I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't at least a little curious myself. To be clear, we will also be talking about the true and verifiable top speed of the cars, not the bullshit vague claims like those made by some builders that go around saying things like this car should do 260 miles an hour. Yeah, well, my first girlfriend should have given me some booty after ordering the steak and the lobster, but that didn't happen either. Damn! Speculation is useless, of course. The should've, could've, would've assertions are as useless as an ashtray on a motorcycle. For those who don't already know, the top speed of any car is influenced by many factors, including the following: the horsepower, the maximum RPM range of the engine, the coefficient of drag, the weight of the car, the tires being used, the wind speed, the air density, and the gear ratios, to name a few factors. To clarify further, I'm talking about production cars, not custom-built race cars, nor will I be mentioning cars that were just background cars or set decoration. If a car was parked in the background and was not used by a main character, because it becomes a never-ending what about this car, what about that car discussion. All the cars are selected are bone stock, equipped just as they are sold from the factory. I'm also well aware that many cars that were shown in the film could have been modified to go faster, but the truth is that BMW was not an M5.
In reality, it's not an M5, it's a 540 6-speed car.
Same goes with the Ferrari FXX we saw in Fast 6. since no owner was dumb enough to loan their real FXX to the movie franchise known for blowing up cars, a replica was made. So the FXX you saw on screen was really a 430 made to look like the FXX. And so cars that were fake representations of real cars are automatically disqualified for obvious reasons, or what should be obvious reasons. I'm also not including purpose-built movie cars that aren't real. An example would be the jet-powered Fiero shown in Fast 9. That car is a prop. So until they take that vile pile of Pontiac poop out to the Bonneville Salt Flats and post a video showing a top speed run, that car is nothing but a figment of Universal's imagination, so disqualified. I'm also ruling out cars like the magnificent Maximus Charger or the Red Daytona. Why? Because there's no record of any top speed runs ever being run with either of those cars. While the magnificent Maximus Charger was, at one time, reportedly undergoing aerodynamic modifications to prep for a top speed run, as of this video, no video or documentation has been presented to verify this claim. The Ford GT40 and Fast 5 is likewise not included because A, it was a replica, and B, there is no verifiable claim as to performance. Theoretically, the car should be capable of 200 plus miles per hour, but I'm not going to make a claim with no data to support said claim. At the bottom of this impressive list is one of the most underrated cars of the franchise, the Aston Martin DB9, which runs out of steam at 192 miles an hour. It's pretty impressive that the slowest car in this lineup runs over 190 miles an hour. In the 1970s, Enzo Ferrari would have given his left nut to have a 192 mile per hour supercar. In the 9th slot, the 2016 Mercedes SLS AMG GT, which tops out at a respectable 193 miles per hour. Gorgeous car. There's a three-way tie, though, for the 8th position, the 2008 Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera from Fast 6, the 2014 Audi R8 from Fast 7, and the 2014 Nissan GT-R all wind out at 196 miles per hour. There's also a three-way tie for 7th place, the Lexus LFA from Fast 5, the 2010 Bentley Continental GT, and the 2014 Dodge Viper from Furious 7 have all been clocked at 202 miles an hour. At number 6 is the Ferrari 458, also from Fast and Furious 7, which tops out at a respectable 210 miles per hour. We could have had a tie for number 5 if the Lamborghini Murcielago LP640 from Fast 8 was actually real, because that car does 211 miles an hour. But it was fake. It was a 2003 standard Murcielago with a Veilside body kit and LP tail lights. Damn you, Universal. And so standing alone at this position is the Dodge Demon, also from Fast 8, which was tested and verified at 211 miles per hour. And there's another tie for the 4th place spot. The McLaren 12C, which appeared in Fast 7 for just a fleeting moment, and the Pagani Zonda F from Fast 6, both have posted 214 mile an hour top speed numbers. At number 3 is the Lamborghini Aventador that Jason Statham drove in Fast and Furious H, which tickles the top of the speedometer at an impressive 217 miles per hour. And at number 2, there's the Koenigsegg CCX from Fast 5, which had a proven top speed of 241 miles per hour. If you haven't guessed already, in the number 1 slot, the 2011 Bugatti Veyron, which has a top speed of 257 for the Veyron 16.4 or 268 miles an hour for the Super Sport. I can't say definitively which version was used for the film, as there are conflicting reports about this particular car. But it doesn't really matter, as either version would be in the top spot anyway. 257 or 268 miles an hour, doesn't matter. Both of them would be on number 1. I know that 2 different cars were used on set and they were rented for $4,000 a day, which is a bargain because if you rented them in the USA, they'd cost $20,000 a day. Frankly, it was a miracle that the car was able to be used in the movie at all, as the production team said that they were constantly overheating out in the desert. 105 degrees out in the desert, it wasn't fun. And I'm sure at this point some of you are asking, hey, what about the Lykan Hypersport? But the fact is that no real Lykans were actually used in the movie. They were replicas built to be crashed, and none of them have the production engine. Second, even if they did provide one with a production engine, there is no verifiable information about the true performance of the car, and it was summarily dismissed from my list. Without data, no way I could make any claims. The list I'm presenting here is the result of extensive research from reputable sources like Motor Trend. Wikipedia is not sourced. Don't come at me with that data. WikiFandom is utter rubbish, so all of their stats have been ignored, and frankly, if you're relying on fandom for accuracy, you might as well be using a broken abacus to do your taxes. Rubbish. Still, I can't help but feel that I've neglected at least one car that should be on this list. If I did, feel free to drop me a comment, but be sure to post an actual link to verifiable data, not wiki, not fandom. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.